Patrick Dupre was just a teenager in 1969 when the first banquet of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame was held in Old Municipal Auditorium. But by that time, he was on track to become a tennis star, and today he becomes the first tennis player to be honored by this Hall of Fame.
Pat Dupre's professional tennis career started in 1976, smack dab in the middle of the most popular era of the game, when names like Borg, Connors, and McEnroe dominated the men's scene. It was a glamour game where finesse, touch, and strategy were the keys over the power surge of the 90s. Pat Dupre fit in perfectly, to no one's surprise, who saw him grow up at Mountain Brook High School, winning the state singles title 3 straight years. From there, numerous junior titles took him to Stanford University, where he was an All-American 4 straight years. Pat Dupre is arguably the biggest name in collegiate tennis. After turning pro, it didn't take long for Pat to climb into the rankings, going from 100 to the top 30 in 6 short years, and in 1979, he reached the semifinals of the world's top event, Wimbledon. That's where he put his home state on the map for something besides the pigskin.
From Birmingham, Alabama. And watch that forehand. There's no way for Vitas to get it, and he is swallowed by court 2. Pat Dupre. Had you heard of him before?
Pat Dupre, the youngster, lost his first set, was down 4-0 to Adriano Panatta. But he tied the match at 2 sets each. We're now in the 5th set, and now Panatta is forced to serve to save the match.
Center court. This has sometimes been compared to a church, a sanctuary, but today it's been like a revival tent. A transplanted Roman chorus in standing room serenading their man, Panatta, trying to drive him on against the man right here, Patrick Marie Dupre from Birmingham. Undoubtedly the greatest player in the history of Birmingham. 8 o'clock this evening. The crowd has been chanting Adriano, Adriano, but now they're silent. Match point. It's out. Wrong! Pat Dupre from nowhere into the Wimbledon semifinals. First day you knocked out Vitas Gerulaitis. A lot of first day flukes around here, but suddenly Pat Dupre is real. Do you feel that way about it?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I didn't consider my win over Gerulaitis a fluke. I've played him many times before, and I'd always had a good record against him. And that gave me a lot of confidence on the grass. And actually, the last few matches, I should have been the favorite anyway. I've played guys who I'm ranked ahead of on the computer, and
you're not surprised then to be here?
No, I'm not surprised. Well, the win over Panatta was probably an upset.
What about the crowd, Pat? Did they jar you with all their chanting and cheering?
They were probably, yeah, they were affecting me at the beginning. I wasn't quite into the scene whatsoever at the beginning. They kept me off balance, but I think it worked out better for me in the end because I put a lot more pressure on Panatta, and the English crowd was really for me.
Pat's dream ended the next day against fellow American Roscoe Tanner in the semifinals. Interestingly enough, it was Tanner's first win over Dupre in 6 meetings. 1979 was his finest year. Not only a semifinalist at Wimbledon, but a quarterfinalist at the U.S. Open, and a singles finalist in 4 other Grand Prix events. 2 years later at the U.S. Open, Dupre would be showcased on national TV against the world's #1 player, John McEnroe. The magic he produced at Wimbledon wouldn't happen on that afternoon, but the respect Pat Dupre earned from his peers for his all-around game, singles and doubles, on all surfaces, grass, clay, and hard courts, was unparalleled. He was the consummate professional who let his racket do the talking. Over the years, this Alabama Globetrotter has beaten the game's best. Lindell, McEnroe, Vilander, Gerulaitis, Ashe, Newcomb, Laver, and Rosewall all fell to Alabama's greatest tennis talent. Today, Pat Dupre is head pro at Old Overton in Vestavia. Before that, he was pro at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. No question, Pat Dupre is deserving of his Hall of Fame stature. Simply put, he has no other peers on the tennis courts from our state. He is the greatest tennis player to ever call Alabama home. Enough said. Pat Dupre, welcome to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame.
Great shot.
When you play at Wimbledon, before you walk out on the center court, there's a little room you sit in with your opponent. The air is awfully thick. You get pretty nervous. I'm a lot more nervous tonight. There are a lot of people in this audience, friends of mine, who I wish to recognize. They helped me along the way. Some helped me more than others, but I remember them all. When I was a little kid, about 11, 12 years old, playing at the Mountain Brook Swim and Tennis Club, there was a fine group of players out there who I wanted to play with. Arnold Lefkowitz, Dick Briggs, Marvin Buchanan. I'm sorry. And a good friend of mine who's recently passed away, Jim Kyle. All those people set examples for me, and I thank them very much. And hopefully I can help other people and set them fine examples as they did for me. My mom and dad are sitting in the crowd over there on the left. Everybody that's played any tennis in the state of Alabama knows that my dad and I were fixtures at every court in this city. My mom logged so many miles, it's amazing we kept any cars running. I have a funny story about her. I was playing at Kalamazoo, which was the National Boys Championship, in the stadium court. The stands stand right up against the court, but they're about 10 feet high, and you look down into the court, and I was playing a real strong opponent, Vitas Gerulaitis, and I won the second set to even the match, and my mom stood up to clap, and she almost fell over in the stands. My dad had to catch her by the seat of her pants. But I want to thank them so much, because they did so much for me, helped me such a great deal, and hopefully what they did for me I can do for others too. There are others who may not be here who I wish to recognize. Hugh Thompson, who's now a tennis pro in Huntsville, former Auburn coach, helped me learn how to win. I mentioned Jim Kyle earlier. There's another fellow here who I wish he was here as well, Drayton Neighbors. He and I had so many long battles at the Mountain Brook Country Club. I'm surprised they let me go back there. It was so nasty. The Hall of Fame, to me, is probably my most crowning achievement. The first tennis player in, I don't know what to say. These people that the Hall of Fame represents are the finest individuals the state has ever had. I still get goosebumps when I walk inside. Hopefully some of the kids that I coach and some of the tennis players in this state, future ones, will feel the same way. Thank you very much. Enjoy the evening. I'm very proud. Thank you.
Our fourth inductee